Hello, community church friends. Welcome to the new term of consistory for the term of June of 2022 through June of 2025. For those of you who are just beginning, I am making this video in order to do an introduction to our church polity and how our church works. There are two videos that you will be asked to watch. One is about the overall structure of our denomination and how the different bodies of our denomination work together. And then this video, which is specific to our, which is specific at the congregational level. So what I'm going to use for this video is an org chart that the transition team came up with as we did our work together when Pastor Billy announced that he was leaving. The transition team was tasked with rethinking the pastoral role and creating some teams to figure out how the work that Billy was doing would be continued. And then from that, to clarify my role. So there are some parts of this org chart that are kind of in flux and are a working document. Those would be the rectangles at the bottom. But the way that our consistory works with pastor, elder, and deacon, along with the strategic advisory board, that is not in flux. That is a part of our polity and how we do church together that is enduring. So I present this to you as both a primer for how our church works and also a working document for the structures of our church that are always changing in terms of how we do ministry, how the work gets done. So I want to take a couple of minutes to go through this document with you. So you'll notice that consistory is made up of 4 different entities. And those entities are pastor, strategic advisory board, elders, and deacons. Now, within those 4 entities on consistory, there are 3 offices, pastor, elder, and deacon. And the strategic advisory board is made up of elders and deacons that are set aside for some specific work. So I will go through each of those roles in a minute. But before I do that, I want to point out that those 4 entities within consistory are all on the same level. There is no hierarchy within our system. So consistory is made up of the 3 offices working together in conjunction with one another in communication and prayer and discernment together. So there's not one person or one group of people that's in charge. It's all of us discerning together. So the pastoral role may be one that you are familiar with. Preaching, worship, pastoral care, staff supervision, support of teams. So that would be the leaders of the teams listed in the rectangle area below. Community relations and organizational administration. So those are kind of the main things that I spend my time on. And there are a few teams that are reporting directly to me, as this is the part that's kind of in flux and that is kind of a new articulation of things since Billy left. So children's ministry, youth ministry, worship leader, office administrator all report to me. And the custodian reports primarily to the office administrator. The strategic advisory board is made up of the pastor and a group of 3 elders and deacons. That would be 3 total, in addition, and the pastor. The strategic advisory board is set aside specifically to discern where God is leading us in the future. To design and propose to consistory strategic initiatives. Strategic advisory board has a special task of listening and discerning what God is doing among us. And they are sort of freed from the tasks that elders and deacons have to do as part of just the ongoing governance of the church, so that they can spend their time and energy discerning where God is leading us into the future. Another role, part of the role of Strategic Advisory Board is to care for the pastor, as often these future initiatives and strategic unfolding of strategic things kind of puts the pastor out front in some difficult changes. And the Strategic Advisory Board is asked to care for the pastor in that as he or she does that work. Right now, the way it stands, we are thinking that the marketing and communications team would report to Strategic Advisory Board, but that team is not yet fully formed and is not functioning. There are obviously lots of communication and marketing things happening behind the scenes, but we don't have a team formalized around that yet. Moving on to the elders. You already learned in the other video about what the elders are tasked with, but here's a little review. The elders are in charge of worship and sacraments, overseeing worship and sacraments. They are in charge of overseeing discipleship and membership. Each elder is also given a care list. So that's a group of people within the congregation who they are asked to give special care for. And their role in that care list is to offer spiritual and pastoral care. There are 3 teams right now that we are envisioning would report to the elders. Those teams are the worship team, the staff relations team, and the nominations team. Moving on to the deacons. The deacons are in charge of stewardship. That includes our finances as well as our facilities. And the deacons also have a role with the care list. Each care list has an elder and a deacon assigned to it. And while the elders provide pastoral and spiritual support to members on their care list, the deacons are in charge of understanding and caring for material needs of the people on their care list. Another fun thing the deacons get to do is receive missional living grant applications and distribute the monies for those. Missional living grants are opportunities that we give to members to apply for some money to fulfill a missional passion of theirs, whether it's a missional project in their neighborhood or their school or something special that they're involved in. Perhaps it's a project or a mission trip or things like that. Our members can apply for missional living grants to help each of us be on mission in our own lives. And there are 3 teams that we're envisioning are reporting to the deacons right now. Those are the tech team, the facilities team, and the generosity team. Now, each of these teams in the rectangle areas, each of them has a job description, as well as a timeline of sort of goals and projects that they are working on. That those will be distributed to elders and deacons at some point in the future to help us all understand the work together. One last thing, and that is in the cloud in the upper corner, member initiatives. So there are lots of things that happen within our congregation that are member-led. Book clubs, social gatherings, events, etc. And those all are sort of fed through consistory in some way. Sometimes it's a formal way and sometimes it's an informal way, where it may be just talking with me about, hey, we'd like to do this. And I would say, that's great. What kind of support can we give you? Or there are other things that are bigger things or things that require more an organizational investment that would come to a part of consistory or maybe even the whole of consistory. So that is just to say that not all of the work of the church is done by consistory members themselves. Thanks be to God for that. So as I said, the way our consistory works is enduring with the pastor, elders, deacons, and strategic advisory board. And the way that the teams are forming and working and communicating with consistory is kind of in flux, and that is a working document. And this is our best guess, our best understanding of how it is working right now and in the foreseeable future. And be prepared for that to change as church continues to unfold and as we continue to pursue what God has for us. We're fully prepared that our structures and ways of doing things may need to change to meet what God is calling us into. So thanks for hanging in there with me in this video, and I look forward to hearing about your questions and interaction about what this means and how we live into this and what needs to shift. Thanks so much.